Good morning. Or should I say g'day? G'day. As you just heard, my name is Amanda Wendt and I'm a proud Rotarian from Melbourne, Australia. I'm also a millennial. Organisations across the world have invested heavily in trying to understand the millennial generation, their differences and their impact. In Rotary, of course, we talk about recruiting millennials as part of our succession planning and wanting to reflect the diversity of the communities that we serve. But we also need to start asking what Rotary can do for millennials and what millennials can do for Rotary. Now, as someone who has been a president of a millennial Rotary club and who has had to manage this demographic in the workplace, I know firsthand just how compelling Rotary's value proposition is to this generation. The key is how we sell it. Globally, the impact of millennials is huge. The millennials are one of the largest generations in history, so they're bigger even than the baby boomers. In 7 very short years' time, it's estimated that 75% of the global workforce will be made up of millennials. And they're already disrupting industries and how we address social issues. So the opportunity to activate the next generation for Rotary, it's not in the future, it's right now. So who are millennials? That's a very good question. Millennials are born in the 1980s and 1990s, so they're currently aged around 18 to 34. And in the Rotary family, we refer to them as Rotaractors or emerging leaders. The millennials are widely portrayed as the me generation, and I think that's probably best summed up in one word, and that's selfie. By the way, does this magazine cover look familiar? Take a good look. It's actually dated 1976 in reference to guess who? The baby boomers. So trying to understand the next generation is not new, okay? Even the baby boomers were once deemed to be mysterious. And it may also surprise you that millennials and baby boomers actually share very similar life goals in terms of happiness, achievement, and contribution. But whilst the end goal might be the same, the journey certainly is different. And technology has meant that the gap in those journeys is the largest it's ever been. So where baby boomers are more influenced by authority, millennials take their cues from their peers, whom they're connected to through vast online networks, changing how we recruit younger members. Where baby boomers prefer face-to-face communication, millennials prefer to communicate online, changing how we plan and deliver projects. And where baby boomers might have once been more inclined to pick up a placard in order to protest a social issue, millennials are more likely to advocate for a cause through social media, changing how we communicate our passions and impact. As Rotarians, we need to move really quickly from being baffled by millennials to capitalising on their potential. But of course, to activate millennials, we first need to recruit them. People believe millennials distrust large institutions, and to an extent that is true. So millennials have grown up witnessing uncertainty across financial markets, governments, international security, and of course, the environment. But despite all this, there's been a real resurgence in ethics, transparency, and accountability, and that's been largely driven by millennials. See, for millennials, it's about purpose over profit. And in fact, studies show that 75% of millennials won't even apply for a job if their values don't align with those of the company. So when it comes to attracting this generation to Rotary, we need to have a strong focus on promoting our values. And when we say we do good in the world, that's what we do. When we talk about delivering projects, running youth leadership camps, or sponsoring Peace Fellows, for example, that's how we do what we do. But what and how don't explain why. Now, yesterday you participated in a session where there was a discussion around Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, and I trust that that was very interesting because you see, communicating why resonates across all generations. But I repeat its importance today because for millennials, it is paramount. And I'll give you an example, okay? If you want to understand the power of communicating why, you only need to look at how globally successful corporations have communicated what drives them. So here's that example from Simon's book, and I want you to have a think about what company this is. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. And we happen to make great computers. That's Apple, yes? A native of this state and one of the most valuable companies off the planet. So how do we action this why in Rotary? It's really very simple. When you're sharing your Rotary stories, don't forget to also share what drives you, your why. So for me personally, I believe in what's possible. It's what drives me to be a person of action. So what's your why? So now we've recruited millennials, how do we engage them in our projects and activities? Well, firstly, let's discuss some workplace trends. Millennials love to find ways to do things better, faster, and smarter. They're ambitious and keen to prove themselves in positions of responsibility. Each year, millennials are graduating from our colleges more highly educated than any generation before them, and they are graduating as great technicians. Employers are not only looking for millennials who are great technicians, but who also have the ability to communicate, to critically problem solve on a global scale, and who can get outcomes through empathy and collaboration. Now, millennials aren't necessarily graduating with these soft skills. In the US, in fact, it's been reported that formal managerial training is not actually likely to start until someone is in their early 40s. So that means these millennials are looking at being in the workforce for 20 years before receiving any sort of training in leadership at all. Now, millennials don't want to wait. And finally, 63% of senior executives, so the baby boomers, are expected to retire in the next 5 years. And when they do, they're walking out with so much industry knowledge, wisdom, and context, not to mention the huge leadership void that they're going to be leaving in our organisations. So all these trends leave us with two gaps. There's an experience gap, where employers are wanting millennials with soft skills, and there's an ambition gap, where millennials have unmet expectations around career progression and experiences. Rotary is uniquely placed to fulfil both these gaps, and this is where our value proposition really starts to come to the fore. For employers, Rotary is a soft skills development organisation that complements more formal education. So we should absolutely be reaching out to corporates and positioning ourselves as a viable and credible partner in developing their emerging leaders. For millennial employees, Rotary is a training ground, a place where they can flex, where they can experiment, where they can lead and prove themselves within an encouraging and supportive environment. It's a perfect match. So how do we engage the millennials, given all that, now that they're in our organisation? We must give them responsibility early and encourage involvement in decision-making. It's crucial that we not only share our knowledge and provide context to the younger members through mentoring, but by also actively nominating them for roles, backing them, as ambitious leaders. Now, can I get a show of hands who here has one or more president-elects in their district who are aged 34 or under? So put your hand up. So that's one or more president-elects aged 34 or under. Have a look around so you see how many hands are up. Who also, so keep them up, but who also has a millennial on their incoming district leadership team? Aha. So this is what I like to call sponsorship in action, and it's exactly what I'm referring to. So can we please give everyone that had their hand up a massive round of applause, because that is fantastic. And here's a quick little small tip as well. Each time you sponsor or nominate a millennial, you're validating them, and that builds loyalty like nothing else. So we've recruited our millennials by sharing our why. We've got them engaged in our projects through actively nominating them for roles. How do we activate them to take us as an organisation into the future? Well, millennials are driven by impact, and they genuinely believe they can change the world. In Australia last year, 70% of millennials volunteered for a cause, and 84% made a donation to charity, likely supporting a peer. So that's that peer-to-peer influence that I referred to earlier. And it's a fair assumption that this is a trend reflected throughout most countries. So combine this then with the global rise in big corporations, crowdfunding sites, and social startups. The momentum for millennials wanting to make a difference is at unprecedented levels. Now, can you guess who is one of the most successful social enterprise incubators in the world? I'll repeat the question. Who is one of the most successful social enterprise incubators in the world? It's Rotary. It's Rotary. If even just 1% of the tens of thousands of millennial social entrepreneurs developed their ideas through Rotary, can you imagine the ripple effect that would have on our organisation in terms of membership, fundraising, brand and impact? Remember, everything that I've been talking about this morning is about how we sell our value proposition. Everything purpose-driven millennials need to start their own social enterprise, Rotary has. Okay, we've got the credentials, we've got the structure, including the people power, we've got the funding and networks. So start telling millennials that Rotary is one of the original social enterprise incubators. We helped invent it, and I guarantee it will get their attention. There are, of course, many ways that we can attract, engage, and activate millennials. Our strength is our amazing value proposition, an unparalleled platform to make a difference. And by aiming our value proposition at an available and motivated generation, we're showing that Rotary really is for people like you and for people like me. It's for all ages. So it's our time to leverage and inspire the next generation to do good in the world. Together, let's do this, and together, let's see what's possible. Thank you.